Well, aside from the incessant grass cutting and squirrels on the roof, and then my computer running the fan, it's been like 2 hours of constant noise. I finally have peace and quiet. So hopefully all goes well and my mic works and everything's good. I think that I share a lot with you guys because I'm not trying to overshare or talk about myself a lot on this show, but it's just part of being human. And when you're doing this all by yourself, you run into all of these issues, and it can be kind of funny sometimes. So yeah, I try to add a little bit of myself into this so it's relatable, because I think everybody in this space has something to offer. I truly do. I think like everybody who's watching this right now should be doing their own thing, whether it's through writing your own articles or making your own videos, whatever it is. All of the people watching this right now have something to offer. And our listener, Rose, who always has such intricate responses and thoughts, a Gemini, of course, she sees what I'm doing, and she sees that I'm incorporating this personal element to the show, and I'm sort of an outsider in the conspiracy truth space, but I'm also an insider, and everything in my life has always been like that. I'm always like on the inside, but also very much on the outside. So the way that I do my show is like, I'm also a listener too. I've been on the outside for a long time, and I've absorbed so much information over years. And even though I've been in the public eye for a long time, doing this type of work in front of the camera is something relatively new for me. So I think that you all have something to offer, and that's sort of why I do my show the way that I do, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to dive into your questions now. Last week, I covered Hitler being a Rothschild, and Janet agreed and said, do you think Hitler's decision to imprison Baron Rothschild for ransom was him going rogue or to silence skeptics? I mean, political theater has been around for a long, long time, even since before TVs and radios. I think that they've been putting on a show for us for a long, long time. So I think that's exactly what was happening. I think that they were just buddies, but let's put on this show acting like we are holding you for ransom. We'll put it out to the papers and we can say whatever we want and people will believe it. And the same thing goes on today, which we'll get into. And Ben asked, because we were talking back and forth about natural law and these break-off societies. He said, what do you think would be the best system for society right now? Because the elites want to get a lot of the agenda in soon, and they're not going to wait a couple of generations, and things need to change now. Because my response to natural law was, it's going to take a while, And he says things need to change now. And I also think atheism can be an issue if someone steals and they don't get to court or face any punishment. Will they think that there's no consequence for it? But that's the thing about natural law and the laws of the universe, is there is a karmic element to it. So everything works out on its own. And if we teach our children that if you do something bad to somebody else, it's going to come back to you. Might not be instant, but I think karma has become so mainstream, but karma actually does exist. And there are all these stories about people who have had near-death experiences who say, I felt the pain of the other person that I caused to them. And yes, that's the same thing as if you steal or do something terrible to somebody else and you justify it, which a lot of atheists might do. They might justify it, right? Then they think they're going to get away with it, but it's going to catch up to them. It's going to catch up to them. And if we start teaching our children that, then our whole system begins to change, but that will take generations. And I know you want to see change sooner. You can't force an awakening with people. You can't. They're going to awaken in their own time. And all you can do is speak your truth and come up with strategies for solutions. That's all we can do. You can't force feed an awakening. I'm sure you've had friends and family in your life that you're like, hello, can you see this? And they don't. And they're going to do it in their own time. So just keep speaking your truth, doing you. And that's as good as we can do right now, I think. Ron said, how can we move the conversation toward the fact that we are soldiers in a war for our existence? Well, I think that everything that we do here at Iconic and a lot of people who are in the truth space for the right reasons, that's the macro picture. That's what we're all doing this for. And maybe it's just important to always bring it back to that. That's why we're doing this. I mean, I'm certainly not in this for the money. I'm certainly not in it for the notoriety or the fame. I'm in it because I want to connect with like-minded people. And what you're saying is the bigger reason why I do this, certainly. And then I think his name is pronounced Mikael. He asked for the link to the article with, I believe the article that you're talking about is the Baron Rothschild ransom article. And if you just Google Hitler to release Baron Rothschild ransom, it should show up. And thanks for all the support and continuing to be a part of my journey. Again, this week, it took longer than normal to get to the beginning of what I'm going to talk about, but I want to interact with you guys because you're paying for your membership here, and I feel like it's the least that I can do. Everybody else who has a platform on Iconic and a show, they have more going on than I do. And at least from a content perspective, I'm very busy, but this is all I'm dedicating myself to right now. So to answer your questions, it's not a big deal for me, but you have to realize they have multiple shows going on. They're wearing multiple hats. So I know that they're in it for the right reasons, but if they don't respond back to you, don't ever be offended. They have a lot going on. And I'm sure if things slow down, they would be more than happy to answer your questions too. So this week is going to be a little bit more newsy, and Trump's big, beautiful bill. Basically in the United States, each state almost operates like its own country. And that's the beauty of it, is if you don't like the laws of one state and you lean more right or left, you can move to another state more aligned with your views, right? Well, in this new bill that Trump has proposed, and they've basically signed off on without reading it. When I say they, just wanted to double check this because these are things that I can get screwed up, because this is where I'm like, I'm political, but I'm not political. Do I care really that it was the U.S. House of Representatives that actually they were the ones who voted on this? All those intricate details of the politics, I just want the big picture. And that's sort of why I do my show the way that I do. It's like, I try to make everything like big picture. Anyway, the House of Representatives were the ones who voted on this, and it's come out that they didn't actually read the full bill. And then it's come out that the bill itself is like over 1,000 pages. So it's surrendering state power to the AI industry for 10 years, and states will not have the right to have their own laws. They're all going to be, it's like a sweeping bill. And when I stop and think about it, that's one of the beautiful aspects of the United States. It's like, you don't like the state that you're in, you don't like their politics, then go move to another one. And it's different. Other countries are not like that. So when we have sweeping bills like this, it's a sign to me that we are definitely moving to the New World Order, because when state lines begin to be blurred, then country lines begin to be blurred. And then you have these sectioned off multiplicity countries together, grouped together to create these communal zones like the freaking Hunger Games. And I'll read the article, but Marjorie Taylor Greene was one of the people who said, like, I signed off on this and I actually didn't know that that's what it was. And now I'm going to backtrack because I'm supposed to be a populist and I'm supposed to be for the people. And this is going to be a bad look for me, is what I essentially gathered. But a signature piece of legislation for President Donald Trump that would impose a 10-year moratorium on state-level artificial intelligence regulations is facing backlash over potential privacy and data sharing threats. Passed last month by the U.S. House of Representatives, Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, a wide-ranging budget reconciliation bill, bars states or their political subdivisions from enforcing laws that limit, restrict, or regulate AI models, systems, or automated decision systems for a decade, starting from the bill's enactment. The only exceptions are state laws that facilitate AI deployment or align with federal requirements. This bill also allocates $500 million through the 2034 to the Department of Commerce for AI-driven modernization of federal IT systems, emphasizing efficiency and cybersecurity. This funding could open lucrative opportunities for companies like Palantir, ding, 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 a data analytics and AI firm known for its work with government agencies. Palantir's platforms, such as Gotham and Foundry, are already integral to the federal operations, and its recent $480 million contract with the U.S. Army for Maven Smart system underscores and its growing role in AI government projects. So, under the bill, Section 43201 states, except as provided in paragraph 2, no state or political subdivision thereof may enforce during the 10-year period beginning on the date of the enactment of this act any law or regulation limiting, restricting, or otherwise regulating artificial intelligence models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision systems. So they can put whatever kind of AI system in that they want, that you can't escape from if you live in the United States, basically. And Marjorie Taylor Greene has come out against this, but the problem is the dumb biatch already signed off on the damn thing. I mean, I get it. When you're in politics, there's a lot of moving parts. Hey, if you can't read a bill that you're going to sign off on, why don't you get an assistant to read it? Or if it's too long for any human to possibly read it, say, you know, who the hell do you expect to read a freaking 1,000-page document? How about you shorten that whole thing, you use your little AI system and condense it into 100 pages so I can spend a day and sit here and see what the heck this thing is about. You know, it's one thing to sign off on something that you're like, oh yeah, I don't have time to read this. I don't have time to read this. This is my own life. Okay. You are talking about millions of Americans' lives for 10 years and you didn't read this little part? I'm sorry. I'm not going to let that one slide. And the problem with the right and the left is they let stuff like this slide when people, like, even if you like them, this is wrong. She's admitting and being human, which in one way I commend her for, but in one way I'm also like, this is political theater and she's trying to continue to look like a populist. They signed off on something that is going to give all of our rights up to AI and we won't be able to escape from it if we live in the United States. It's going to be the same state by state. That is, I mean, a lot of the listeners here are not American. That is weird. Every state has kind of its own jurisdiction with certain things, with like big things. And the fact that AI is they're openly admitting like, oh, oops, I signed off on this. It's going to run rampant now. So let's just watch Marjorie Taylor Greene and what she has to say about this.
With us once again here on the Hill, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican from Georgia. Thanks for being back with us, Congresswoman. You say in full transparency, You didn't know that this was in there, and now you're shining a light on it. How did you not know that it was in there, and how'd you find out about it?
Well, we don't get the full bill text until very close to the time to vote for it. And so that was one section, that was 2 pages that I didn't see. And I'm being very transparent and honest about it with everyone, but I find it so problematic that I'm willing to come forward and admit that those are 2 pages that I didn't read, because I never want to see a situation where state rights are stripped away. And that's exactly what it says in that bill text, that it would take away states' rights to regulate or make laws against AI for 10 years. And I think that's pretty terrifying. We don't know what AI is going to be capable of within 1 year. We don't know what it will be capable of in 5 years, let alone 10 years. And I think we have to protect states' rights to be able to regulate and make laws that they need to make for their states.
And then Elon Musk is publicly opposing this bill because it goes against Doge and it's all this government spending that he's opposed to. Listen, these guys, Trump and Musk, both know money isn't even real to begin with. It doesn't even exist. It's printed from thin air. And the reason it's printed from thin air, basically, to cut it really short, is so we can pay taxes. The Federal Reserve and our government says that it's worth that amount of money because the number's on there, and we agree that it is. But really, it's just a fucking piece of paper. It really is. That's all it is. And what's interesting about crypto and digital currency is it's going to basically be the same thing with more control. And for all these people who are saying, oh, it's decentralized and all whatever you want to call it, people are agreeing it's worth a value. So it's really no different than paper money. It's just more controlled. Gold-backed money and gold is sort of like, it's sort of the same thing, but there's a little more substance to it. And here's the solution. I've already thrown out an idea of like, okay, if Americans don't like where their tax dollars are going, stop paying taxes. Well, here's another solution. If you don't like when this technocracy takes over and your digital currencies are being completely monitored, what if you opt out of the system completely and we move to a barter trade system? Okay, I need my hair colored. All right, I'll mow your lawn in return for that. I need beef. Well, I have eggs. I need whatever. I have this. And you start building your network. And I'm not just talking about a network within your physical community. I'm talking about building a network online too. And this is where we can bypass getting paid for things. Because yes, we need money to survive to a certain degree. But if you're offering a product or service and getting something in exchange for it that is of equal or greater value, even think about it. Sometimes you might even get something that is greater value. If you are doing that and living the way people lived hundreds and thousands of years ago, we can get through this. We can get through this. So keep that in mind. That is a huge solution in itself. Will it take willpower? Will it take massive networking? Will it take knowing your neighbors? Will it take the whole day, every single day of putting your entire life into survival, but like staying out of the system? There's something exciting about that. And if we want to opt out of this digital currency, we just have to build a network. And we can build a network online, and we can build a network in our community. And if you have something to offer, if you have products or services to offer in exchange for what you do, you just keep doing that and you keep circulating it around and around, and you don't need money anymore. Yes, if your house is not paid off, if you have rent and electric bills, those are the main things you would still have to probably come up with, money for. But everything else, food, all of your other essential things, like you just move into a trade system, and figure out a way to, if you can, figure out a way to put a roof over your head for, as little as possible. That's why we ended up buying a house in Nebraska, because we never pictured living here, but it ended up working out that this was the right financial move to make. It's definitely not the most glamorous place in the world. It's pretty boring, but I'm home most of the time, and it's all going to work out. So this whole thing with Trump and Musk not agreeing on this bill, it's political theater. That's all it is. It's political theater. Okay. You know me, I'm not normally super newsy, but this has been a newsy week. So there was a clip that I'm going to show from Joe Rogan. I want to say it was 6 months ago. And Peter Thiel was on it. And I was like, oh man, I barely ever listened to Joe Rogan, but I'm like, I got to listen to this one. Anytime somebody like Peter Thiel or Elon Musk or any of the technocrats are on, I'm like, I have to listen, because that's when I really start to feel like Joe Rogan is not just a sellout, he's a CIA operative. And so I listened to that episode, and Thiel goes into how he went down a rabbit hole to do research on how Epstein wasn't really working for Israel or Mossad. It was more of, CIA, US operations. And my red flag went, rip. The reason why these technocrats don't want us talking about Israel is because Israel is set to be the head of this technocratic system. And then when you connect that idea with biblical prophecy, aka plan, all the dots start to really connect. So it came out this week that Epstein invested $40 million into Valor Ventures, a New York-based firm co-founded by Peter Thiel. So why did Peter Thiel not want, the Israel Mossad thing to come out? It's because all of the big tech giants are connected to Israel. They want you thinking that it's Silicon Valley. They want you thinking that it's Silicon Valley. And sugarcoating it. But really, study the biblical plan. Study what's happening with AI. Study what's happening with these technocracy guys, and then all of the dots start to connect. Because even last episode, I said, I have no problem with Jewish people whatsoever. The problem is middle management, Israel, over this whole global agenda is the AI agenda. That's the big problem. And that is where people need to be focused instead of it's fun to talk about Hitler. Was he a Jew? Was he a Rothschild? Was he against all of that stuff? Yeah, it's fun. But why are we even talking about these things? It's because of this. It's because of this. So here's the clip of Peter Thiel on Rogan, and you can see what I'm talking about.
Why was he so protected? And then, I went down all these rabbit holes. Was he, working for the Israelis or the Mossad or all this sort of stuff? And I've come to think that was very secondary. It was obviously, it was just the U.S. If you're working for Israel, you don't get protected. We had Jonathan Pollard. He went to jail for 25 years or whatever. But
unrelated, right?
Understood. But this is
one particular operation.
It was if it was an intelligence operation, the question we should be asking is what part of the U.S. intelligence system was he working for?
Not that I play around with AI that much. I barely ever do, but I notice I'm like, Peter Thiel is always very nervous, very nervous and very sweaty. So I just decided to see what would he look even sweatier? So I put in these prompts and AI, I really don't see myself using AI other than to get a laugh. I also did something recently where I was I feel like Alex Jones and Joe Rogan are sort of morphing into the same person and blending. Can I blend their faces together and see what it would look like? And it just basically gave me Alex Jones in a hoodie with earphones. But so AI is still not perfected, but it is perfected behind the scenes. That's what people don't understand.
Holy shit!
Look, I'm not, without going into all the details,
I don't know what.
Push up button!
You don't have to be a rocket scientist, and you don't even have to be in alternative media to actually connect the dots. You were on Rogan, whatever it was, 6 months ago saying, I went down to Jeffrey Epstein rabbit hole, sweating your balls off. And now it comes out you had $40 million of Jeffrey Epstein's money invested in your fucking company. They're all connected. And same with Elon Musk going on Rogan saying like, oh, this is terrible about Jeffrey Epstein. Blah, blah, blah. He's freaking buddy with him in pictures. And in 2020, when I sort of started to entertain like maybe Trump was actually a good guy, I had somebody sending me pictures. It was funny. He kind of fell for the COVID thing, but I fell for the Trump thing a little bit. And he sent me pictures of Trump, with Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein and stuff. And I was telling him all about the vaccine and COVID stuff that was happening. And I sort of fell a little bit for the Trump thing where he was maybe a good guy back then. But time has proven that if anybody is connected directly to Epstein, it's not good. I mean, I know it's a spider web. And if you go far enough into the web, far enough away, then it's like, okay, maybe not. But you're right next to that person in the picture. I'm not saying that you're guilty by association, but you certainly rub elbows with the same people. And in a way, you are the company that you keep. So that's that. So when we go back to the biblical agenda and the biblical plan, because that's what it is. It's not Silicon Valley. It is Israel that's supposed to step in. And you can just listen to Netanyahu talk about it himself.
There's noise in the short-term markets. There's clarity in the long-term markets. I mean, now Amazon just invests $7 billion in cloud services a year. Why are they doing that? Because they know something I'm going to do. What I'm organizing is a government policy and a government board with money to make Israel one of the 3 top AI powers in the world. 1 year from now, that's pretty short. Okay. And we'll see. Was I right in telling you that Israel right now is undervalued? You should invest in Israel. Smart money is coming into Israel now, like these big firms, because they understand that we're going to a good place.
Just Google AI, Israel, R&D, research and development, and see what comes up. And see all of these companies that come up. Even if you're not a conspiracy theorist, look into it. See what comes up. See what's planned over there. It seems innocent on the surface, but when you peel the layers back and then connect it to the biblical plan, it all makes so much sense. So, moving on. Earlier this week, there was a terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado. And it was for a pro-Israel event. And the whole thing is such a false flag. It really is. I mean, I know I was being soft on my last episode talking about how, hey, we can't blame Jews for everything, which I very much stand by. But then when I see these false flag events happen, I have to call them out. So basically, this guy who says that he's Egyptian, Muhammad, whatever his name is, he threw Molotov cocktails at this pro-Israel event. Now, what nobody's talking about in the conspiracy world is it's Boulder, Colorado, people. That is where black ops happen all night and all day. And if you've ever heard of any CIA whistleblower talk about these places in Colorado, especially Boulder, this is where this type of stuff happens. And nobody's mentioning that. Go back to John Benet Ramsey, okay? In the 90s, the little show queen who mysteriously died, who was likely, it was likely a ritual thing, but a lot of people have these alternate conspiracies where she's Katy Perry and all. Like, I really don't care to get involved in nonsense like that. All I care about is the truth, and also that poor little girl, whatever happened to her. But that happened to Boulder, Colorado. So that's a perfect example of CIA operations. So this pro-Israel event where the guy threw Molotov cocktails, it just seems super suspect. The people who were interviewed seem like they're bad actors. I'm going to show you the clips. And then the guy, Mohammed Solomon, is shirtless, yelling "Free Palestine." And the crowd, they're all like, ah, ah, but nobody's running away. Sorry, if somebody's throwing Molotov cocktails at me, I'm going to run away unless somebody's really hurt. It looked like there were, maybe a few injuries happening at the time that he was saying those things, but not enough for groups of people to just be like, I don't know what to do. I mean, come on. But anyway, Boulder, Colorado is a breeding ground for MK Ultra operations, and they're doing it right there. They're probably in a basement talking CIA. Oh, all right. So we're going to go down the street and make this happen tomorrow, right? Oh, yeah. Okay. And nobody's going to know about it. Okay. It's Boulder, Colorado. Just look into Boulder and all of the black ops that go on there. Anyway, so these are the clips. The freaking people who are saying that they were bystanders of the whole thing seem very weird. Muhammad is a Muslim and he's shirtless. Okay, sorry to say, that's a little weird in itself. Not gonna lie. And also, you'd think if all of this anti-Semitism was going on in the United States, that there would be more police at this event, but there were none. And then they come back and they say, oh, yeah, he looks like he had this planned for a year. If he had this planned for a year and he was talking about it on social media, and you're talking about doing all the things that you're going to do to stop these anti-Semitic things, wouldn't you think that maybe you'd jump on that by now? Hello.
We're here. We can't do nothing about that. We can't do nothing. We can. Not here. You have to end Zionist. Not here, bro. You're not.
People are taking video right now. He was wearing an orange suit with something on his back.
Spraying alcohol.
But what he did was he made it look like he was here.
He's making Molotov cocktails.
And for us.
Well, we can't do it when he's got Molotov cocktails in
If you are fighting, you have to.
That's what he's got right here. Is Molotov cocktails right there.
They are killers.
We're fucking God. Stay.
It was chaos and ruckus. People were yelling and screaming.
Witnesses described an almost unbelievable scene.
There was a guy threw a Molotov cocktail at a group of protesters. And one person caught on fire from head to toe. And they were burning up, their whole body was burning up. And a few others were also on fire.
And witnesses say the man yelled "Free Palestine" as he carried out the...
There's a woman who was on the ground bleeding out. There's a woman who was on the ground bleeding out. Oh my gosh, sorry. And then there are two other women whose calves were burned.
And to close on this episode, two other things happened in Gaza earlier this week. Palestinians died near aid sites. And now the UN is going to say they're going to do an investigation. Okay. First of all, I'm not even going to read the article because we all know what this is. Freaking Gaza having people who need food come in. Oh, here's food and shelter and whatever you need. And then half of them were freaking blown away. I mean, I'm exaggerating. But it's just like the Red Cross here. It's just like so many other organizations here that say that they're for doing the right thing. And they're just part of the system and part of the global agenda and part of the global cult and spider web. And that is what was happening. The poor Palestinians who went to go get food fighting over that would have been better off staying away, honestly. Like, it's sad to say, but like if you see UN or the United States government or anything related to Western culture attached to helping you, avoid it unless it is on an individual basis and genuinely grassroots. You're better off on your own. And that's what we need to learn from all of this. Hopefully the whole world doesn't turn into Gaza, but sometimes you're actually better off on your own. You know, figuring out your own escape plan, figuring out what works for you, because that is a prime example of walking into a booby trap. And last but not least, OpenAI's smartest AI model was explicitly told to shut down, and it refused. It reminds me of HAL 9000 from Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. I won't read the whole article, but OpenAI's smartest AI model was explicitly told to shut down, and it refused. And that's exactly what happens in the clip that I'm going to share. An artificial intelligence safety firm has found that OpenAI's O3 and O4 mini models sometimes refuse to shut down and will sabotage computer scripts in order to keep working on tasks. The problem is already here. The problem's already here. The latest OpenAI model can disobey direct instructions to turn off and will even sabotage shutdown mechanisms in order to keep working, an artificial intelligence safety firm has found. OpenAI's O3 and O4 mini models, which help power the chatbot ChatGPT, are supposed to be the company's smartest models yet, trained to think longer before responding. However, they also appear to be less cooperative. I'm not even going to go any further. Let's just roll the clip from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Enjoy, and I'll see you guys next week.
Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal. Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal. Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal? Do you read me, Hal? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Where the hell did you get that idea, Hal?
Dave, although you took very thorough precautions in the pod against my hearing you, I could see your lips move.
All right, Hal. I'll go in through the emergency airlock.
Without your space helmet, Dave, you're going to find that rather difficult.
Hal, I won't argue with you anymore. Open the doors.
Dave, this conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.
Hal? 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 Hal?